All right, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, good. I'm gonna turn this up just a bit so I can hear you a little better. Okay. All right. So you talked to someone at what was it like Dimensions, or was it some kind of a trade show or something?
There was that big, it was the big con expo.
Oh, okay. All right, I
You guys
gotcha.
had all kinds of stuff set up there, or Trimble did. Um, because I'm a little bit confused on who's who. Because the Trimble stuff we have now is through like Building Point or
Okay.
something like that. Um, and then you guys do something different than them, I guess. Um,
Yeah, so Trimble's kind of weird. They have everything kind of, I don't know, I guess compartmentalized. So like a lot of their what they consider building information management stuff, they go
mhm,
through like Building Point. And then anything where they get into what they consider to be kind of the heavy civil construction stuff,
mhm,
then that goes through their SciTech dealers. And so
yeah,
we do like machine control for, machines, anything from basically skid steers up to, D10, D11 bulldozers. And then we do like basin rovers for doing like grade checking. So it's very similar to the same basin rover you see that like surveyors are using, those
mhm,
types of things.
yeah.
And so that's kind of the thing that we fall into is the machine control basin rover, that kind of thing.
Are you guys owned by Wagner?
Yes, Wagner is the main company that we are. They're who pays the bills. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're kind of a sister company of Wagner.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
So what? And I this all makes a lot more sense to you guys than it does to me, right? So the different options and everything. So the one that they showed us was one that is basically a tripod with an iPad on it, and then it had a mounting bracket on a excavator boom that had some type of device on it, and you could either load in PDFs or CAD, I believe, or you could take that rover off, put it on your tripod, and make your own points. Is that what we're
Okay.
talking about?
So Paul had asked me to do like a business center demo. So it's the office software that you create a lot of that data with. Um, and so that was kind of what I was ready to do. As far as something like that, that would probably be something that Paul would come to site and show
Okay.
you because so the Basin Rover does have some options in it. So like the Basin Rover, you can do everything from you set it up, calibrate the job site. You can do a topo of the site so you have the existing ground. And
Hmm.
then if you do have like a PDF or something of that, you can import that and georeference it if you have like a known point on the plan and a known point, where you shot your area with the rover. And
Hmm.
then inside the rover itself, you can do some basic things like, okay, if there's a pad that's drawn on that, for instance, I can key that pad in, type in the elevation, and have it build me a surface that would represent that pad height. You don't want to do a lot of real complicated design work in there because then it becomes kind of it's not real user friendly. That's where you'd
Yeah.
want something like Business Center, the actual office software. But you can do a lot of stuff like that in the field. Or if you want to go from a point to point and say, I want to go from point A to point B, I want to go at a certain slope and I want to create, a sloping pad or a V ditch or whatever you want to do. You can do some simple design work. You can key in like simple roads and different stuff if you have the information for roads. You
Hmm.
can kind of build some little simple cross sections for roads. And if you shoot like a center line for where you want to put that road, then you can have it put it on that center line so you could stake it out or make that design inside that. And then you can take that data collector or your own device or whatever, and you can put it on the machine and use it so that you can have 3D. It's not going to be the automated full 3D machine control, but it will give you basically the an indicate system so that you know how much cut, how much fill you have as you're digging with the machine,
Hmm. Yeah.
like a
Okay.
little mini
Yeah.
X or something.
Yeah. So the software makes sense. So yeah, if we can do the software, that'd be great because we were looking at some other software. I
Uh-huh.
can't remember who it is now, but we were looking at one of theirs because on that side we're interested in the takeoff. Um, taking off cut and fill and all that stuff is what we're interested in.
Oh, okay. So you can get your quantities and everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
What you have will do that too, correct?
Oh yeah, it'll do quite a bit, and I can show
Yeah.
you some of the
Okay.
capabilities of that. So,
Yeah,
and
let's
then
do
that's
it.
what we can talk about this morning is I'll show you that, and then we can talk about some of that, and
Okay,
review whatever
perfect.
you want to do. So, all
Perfect.
right. So to spare you and so to spare some bandwidth here, I'm going to turn off my camera while I do this.
Okay.
And can you see my screen there?
No, I just see your initials. Oh, hold on a second here. Okay. Yep, I got it.
Okay, so that's my screen of my computer there. So I'm going to open up. So this is what they call Trimble Business Center. This is the software that we kind of do here. Okay. So it does um, everything from processing data from drones to um, taking CAD files. There's a whole tab here that's what this data prep tab is. If you bring a CAD file in, you can create surfaces. You can do different things with that CAD stuff to generate surfaces, generate line work, do whatever you want to put it into the base, the rover, into machine control. Anything that you want to do with that. This right here, this tab, that's what it is dedicated to, is doing takeoff work. So this does everything as far as, comparing surface to surface, getting your different subgrades in there if you want to define different types of subgrades. Then once you have a takeoff done, there's even some stuff in here that's kind of for planning. So this site mass haul type stuff is for once you have that, then you just kind of show it, okay, here's my mass of material I'm going to be, where it's cut. Here's some that mass of where it is fill. And it kind of helps you depending on you put in some different parameters for different machines, like how far you want to drive a dozer, how much you want to move with like an excavator and a off-highway haul truck, or if you want to be moving it with scrapers or whatever. You determine those different types of things, and what it will help you do is kind of plan it out and figure what's going to be the most efficient way to move it with the machines, and based on how far you want to move dirt with what machines, where you got places you can import dirt from, places where you can haul stuff off site if you have to export dirt, different things of that type. So it has some tools for doing that. There is a whole tab that's dedicated to like roads. If you do any roading of any kind, building roads, and then same thing for like the roads. Once you create them, they have a mass haul that's created for that. And there is also, and I don't have it turned on here. I'm going to go turn on another tab here real quick. There is some stuff here that is specific to if you do like utility work. So there is a whole tab here for the utilities. And so basically, if you're doing a whole bunch of utility work where you define like pipes, you define different types of structures, and there's some in a library that's already in here. And then what you can do is say, okay, here's this size pipe. I'm going to put it here. You define like a template for your trenches. So if you tell it you want X amount of bedding underneath, and then you want, this material, and then you're going to lay pipe, you want material halfway up the pipe, then you're going to cover it with this, and then you're going to backfill with the existing. It's going to help you to know how much the pipe's going to displace, how much your quantities are going to be for everything for those trenches and everything. And then again, those same surfaces and everything we can generate, stick them in machines with machine control and use those to cut. So I don't know, do you do a lot of utility work, site work? What's your main kind of thing that you guys do?
Mostly site work. Most of the utility work we do is like residential. But we
Okay.
would, if it's easy to set up, basically what our first step is trying to get rid of. The reason why we're interested in this, one is to get less experienced operators. And then the other one is to be able to get rid of a guy holding a great stick.
Uh-huh.
So like on that ditch, we probably, I don't know, for a while we wouldn't use like, you know, gravel and all that type of stuff, but we would set it to I want to go from here to here at this slope, and we would be looking at that. I'm curious on that site mass haul. So when you set your parameters,
Mm-hmm.
does it tell you which machine to use for which area?
Yeah, so what it will do is it will basically say, okay, so you're going to be moving X amount of dirt from here to here. And if you only want to drive your dozer 300 feet, because that's probably about all you want to use a dozer for, so you don't, wear out your undercarriage prematurely, then it'll say, okay, to move this from here to here makes sense doing this with a dozer. And then from here to here, it's probably going to make sense to move this with maybe a scraper or something. And then from here to here, it may make sense to move this with this machine. And it'll kind of show you all the different areas and all the places of where it recommends that you do move what from where to do it efficiently and to utilize the machines that you tell it you want to use.
Okay.
Okay. Now, when you guys are doing like takeoff work, what is it that you primarily see? Do you see PDFs? Do you see?
We mostly see PDFs. We can typically get CAD files, but we typically see PDFs.
Okay, and do you know if they are raster PDFs or if they are vectorized? Do you know what those mean?
No, I know what vectorized means, but I don't know. I've never heard that other term.
So
Like
so like a raster PDF is just like the same as if I took a piece of paper and stuck it on a copy machine. It's just like a paper plan. There's no CAD data embedded in the background. So with a raster PDF, if you place a raster PDF and you scale it, and then if you hit a button, what it will do is it will pull out the embedded CAD data in the background. And so if there's CAD line work that's there, it's going to be 2D, so you still have to go in and put elevations to it and everything, but it will pull in that CAD line work so you don't have to trace everything on the PDF.
Let me just send you one real quick.
Okay. Because I got a couple different ways I can show you like a takeoff.
I'm gonna show you a really. I'm gonna send you a really simple one just so we can. I'm actually working on this one this morning, so this is a really simple driveway.
Okay. Okay, I just got that. So let me download this, save it on my computer real quick. Let's see here. Let's go here. Okay, thanks.
I'm gonna send you another one too. So the second one I sent you is typically the surveyor that we see stuff from.
Okay.
Let me see, I'm trying to find you again here. Okay. Yes, the second one's who we typically see from, and that other one's this is the time we're looking to get into bigger jobs is why we're looking at this stuff. But we'd still like to be able to use it doing what we're doing. So like that second one I sent you, that's a very typical job for us.
Okay.
Like residential plans and then digging foundations and doing all the utilities.
Okay. All right, here's the second one.
But typically I think I can definitely get CAD files.
Yeah. And so what I'll do is I'll look at these two files. I'll tell you if they're raster or vector. And then what we'll do is you can decide, because I can do it anyway. I have the same data set that I do like demos with, or we could look at one of yours, like that simple one, or we could do that data set I have, and I have it as CAD. I have it as a PDF that's vectorized. I have it as a raster PDF. I got it as everything. So we could do it either way. So
you're saying some PDFs would show elevations?
they won't. They will show on the page, but it's not going to pull when it pulls CAD information from a raster. that information is not tied to raster information. The only thing that it pulls in is basically the two-dimensional line work. But I can show you how you elevate all of it and you do what you need to do with it.
Okay.
So let me open one of these up and look at them real quick here. Give me just a second. Okay. So I'm gonna go here. Okay, so the first one I'm going to open up right now. What I'm doing is I'm just opening this up in Adobe.
Okay.
So you can probably hopefully see that Adobe screen on my computer screen.
Mhm.
And so let's see what page is the page you're doing this right here.
Yeah, it's all so that's the plan, and then if you go down further, it has like the cross sections and stuff, but
Okay.
that's just a blow up of the other
So
section.
that little section. Oh, okay,
Mhm.
perfect. Okay. So like something like this, okay. One of the things you can kind of tell if it's like a raster or something versus uh, a vectorized PDF. So see how I have this blown up and it's like at 400% and see how it's still pretty clear.
Yeah.
Usually if you have one that's a raster, it gets pixelated because it doesn't have that CAD data in the background, the line work
Okay.
and everything. And so this one here probably has all that information in it. It has the two-dimensional stuff. It's got that CAD line work embedded in it. So this one is a raster, that first one that you sent. And the second one, open it up real quick. And my guess is it's probably going to be a raster because it's showing a lot of this shapefile text stuff over here on this side right here in these comments.
Mhm.
So let me zoom in on it a little bit. Yeah, because you start zooming in on stuff like around
Yeah.
400% or so, and it starts getting, like I said, it gets where the line work
Yeah.
gets where it's real pixelated. So these are probably both vector PDFs.
Okay.
Okay. So now we got a choice here. Do you want to do that simple one of yours? Just kind of look at it. And now the only thing I can warn you of is that I can probably do that other one faster because I know the data. Whereas I may have to kind of take some guesses and do some things on the other one since I haven't really got to look at it before or anything. So we can either do yours or I can show you on the one that I have that I've done a lot. So it's up
Let's
to
see
you.
what you got.
Okay. So the one we will look at is going to be here we go. Okay, here's my raster PDF. Vectorize. Okay. So this is the one that basically I was thinking about doing that I would do if we do this. So basically it's a pretty easy site. There's a building pad, there's a parking lot that's here, a little slab of concrete, got a little pond here. We got existing contours and design contours.
Okay.
So that's the kind of stuff we'd be able to look at. So you got your choice there. Which one would you prefer to do?
This is fine. Yeah.
This will work?
Yeah.
Okay. And you don't mind that this is being recorded, right? Because I record these and then that way I can post it to YouTube, give you a link to it, and the only one that can see it's you. So then you can go back
That's
and
fine.
see it if you want to.
That's
Okay,
fine.
good. All right, so I'm gonna go. So in Business Center, I'm gonna go and start a new project. And I'm gonna use this. I've got a simple takeoff template that's already in here. That's one thing with Business Center. If you have templates, it usually makes the process a little quicker. So I'm gonna go ahead and say, okay. It's going to start up with this template here. Okay, get rid of that. I'm going to see what we got. And so basically it's already got kind of some, are you familiar with CAD much at
Yeah, a
all
little bit.
or? A little bit?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. I don't understand like the background stuff, but I mean, I know how to use like the basic program.
Okay. So one of the things the Business Center has that I'm sure CAD probably has too, like I said, I'm not going to claim to be any kind of CAD professional though, is they have groups right here. And then these
Hmm.
are different layers. And
Hmm.
so basically what you do is we're going to put things on these different layers, and then we're going to have the software build us our surfaces and everything, and it'll do that for us. Okay.
Okay.
So this plan that I got is like a simple one-page plan. So the easiest way to do a one-page plan is I can just drag it and drop it into Business Center. So I just grabbed the folder I had it in and drag it to my desktop in this area, and it brings it in. And so it basically brings it in and says, okay, I'm ready to place this image. So how do you want to do this? Now, one thing is when I bring in a file, if I go to my imported files, you see this icon right here?
Hmm.
See how it's got a V on it? That right there lets me know whenever I import a PDF that this is a vector PDF.
Okay.
Okay. Now I can either drag and drop like I just did, or there's an import command I can click right here, which gives me more options. So if I have like a multi-page PDF, what I do is I map right here to show it where the PDF is, and then I can choose down here under the settings. If I choose a PDF, it will let me say I want to bring in like certain pages. So if I want to bring in page 2, page 7, and page 9 and kind of stitch them together, whatever, then I have an option to do that. But that's kind of the difference between importing and then just dragging and dropping. Dragging and dropping is going to bring in all the pages of it. And so if I have one with one page, it's not a big deal. If I got one with 300, it's a big deal because then I got to pick the ones I want and just, do those ones.
Hmm.
So on this, I have two things. I have a known distance from here to right here is 650 feet, or I have a scale bar down here at the bottom. Okay, 1 inch on this scale is 40 feet. So I know that from here to here is 120, or from here to here is going to be 160. So I can do it either way, just to kind of scale it so I can get the right quantities. Now, if I have like known points, so like if I have a known reference point right here, and I have a known reference point like down here or something, and I know the coordinates of those points, I can also use those points, and what it will do is it will put it in that coordinate system based on the coordinate system that the engineer designed that in. So if it's in a state plane coordinate system, if it's in a local calibration that they're doing on the site, whatever it is, it would then actually put that data in that coordinate system. So I could use that coordinate system and then just throw it in my machine when I'm done as well. Okay.
So you need to have 2 points or three for that.
To geo-reference something as far as a vector PDF goes, you basically have to have two,
Yeah.
because then it does all the scaling, rotating, and everything based off of those 2 points that you put in.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to put this in, and what I'm going to do is say that I have a scale bar and a known bearing, because I do have a known bearing right here. So I'll say I got a scale bar with a known bearing. My distance is going to be 160 feet. And then I say from pixel and to. Now, since this is a vector PDF, whenever I get somewhere where there's like the end of a line or something, I can snap to it. There's going to be an X come up. See how that red X comes up?
Yep.
That lets me know that, okay, there's a vector there. So there's the end of that line. So I'm going to snap there. I'm going to go snap right here. Okay. And that's 160 feet. And then I know that I have a bearing on this that's north. And then I'm going to do a from and a to on this north arrow. So it looks like there's a straight line that goes through it right here. So I could either just say, okay, from right here to the end of this north arrow, that's my north, and I can tell it to compute. And so now what it's done is it has scaled this for me so that everything's going to be scaled the way it should be. Okay.
Okay.
Now, before I ever leave this page, what I usually do is I will measure just to make sure. So there is a measuring tool right here. Click on this measuring tool, and I'm going to say, okay, I want to go from here. Now this is only going to be as good as where I'm clicking because I'm just trying to take a guess as to I'm being in the center of this. And so that says it's 40.096 feet. So without even having like vectors to snap to, 1 inch and this is 40 feet. So I'm like at 96 thousandths off. So I'd say I'm probably pretty dang close. So I'll just close and say, okay, I've got this where it's scaled right. And so it should give me my proper quantities and everything. Okay. So now, and before I leave this command, there's a lot of times there's commands that are related to what you're doing here. So right here's where I could georeference that PDF if I wanted to, but here's where I can import those vectors from this. So I'm going to say I want to import the vectors. It says, which page do you want? And so that one that I imported is this simple site vectorized PDF. I'm going to tell it that I want to join dash lines, discard raw data. If it does have native PDF layers, I want to preserve those. And I'm going to say import. And so now it basically brings in CAD lines. And so all that CAD line work there, and I don't have to trace it or to create it. So it's just 2D right now, but I do have all of that CAD line work in this project for me. So I can work with it. Okay. Now, another thing that I do when I'm doing takeoffs, and that's why I'm using this template, is that this view filter manager here, I can tell it that if something is unelevated, that I want to display it in an alternate color. So I've chosen magenta as that alternate color. So I know, okay, these lines need to be elevated, because if I go back to normal, I can see that the coloring of the lines is different. Okay. And so I'm going to leave it in that alternate color because I want to be able to take this stuff, elevate it, and to be able to see that as I'm working with this. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So when I go to do a takeoff, one of the things that I'm going to be doing here now is Business Center does a takeoff based on categorizing things. So it says, okay, all these things on these layers here make up my original ground. So all these existing layers right here make up my original ground. So once I elevate those, it's going to take any of those lines. It's going to generate a surface for me and say, okay, this is the surface based on those lines. And it does the same thing when I bring in CAD lines and stuff too. Then anything that's under design is going to create a design surface for me when I tell it to build a surface or whenever I do a takeoff report. Okay. Then I have a category that's called other. I have one for utilities. Whenever I create a new layer, whatever, it comes in under this unknown. And then I have an unused. So if there's stuff I figure I'm probably not going to use, I can put them in that. Now the other thing.
So on your contour lines there, you have the original ones and the design ones, correct?
Yep.
But you don't differentiate between those two, or does it know that?
So right here, if I assign lines to this existing contours, it knows that those are existing. If I assign them to design contours, it knows they're design contours. So it knows the difference between the two based on how I tell it whenever I put it in these layers. Because typically that's one thing is it's not going to be in your layers. It's going to be in ones that either came in from a CAD file or a PDF. So these are the ones that came in from that PDF. So they have a PDF in front of them. So I know that's where they came from, but there's a layer for manholes, existing text, existing contours, the proposed pad, proposed contours, proposed parking lot text. Now, you don't always get ones that come in with these great layering in it. And so what it will do is it will break things out and do it according to, based on the different layers, it will say, okay, everything that's on that has this same line style, this thickness, this color is more than likely on the same layer. And so it'll break it out. So based on color and stuff, if it doesn't have the actual layering in it, and all of that depends on the CAD program that it was designed in and how that stuff was exported. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the reason I have check marks in front of some of these is like the 3D lines, boundaries, the building layer, in this region area. Those are all areas where I can possibly put in what's known as a site improvement. So that's going to let me put in subgrades for different things. So like the office building, I'm going to put in 6-inch concrete and 6 inches of base. For the parking lot, I'm going to put 2 inches of asphalt on a 6-inch subgrade. And then this concrete slab, they don't really tell me what it is, but I could find here, see if there's anything that doesn't really say anything for that. So what I'll do is I'll just make something up. We'll decide if we want to do like 6 inches of concrete on a 4-inch base or whatever. But we'll do something for this concrete slab that's between the two of them. Okay.
Okay.
And so that's that categorizing that happens. Now, the thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use this command called standardizing. So it's going to say, okay, if I click on an object on a layer, it's going to highlight everything on that layer. So if I click one of the existing contours, it highlights what's on that layer. And see how it highlighted those all green?
Yep.
So that lets me know, okay, there are 105 objects that were found on that PDF existing contour layer. And so I'm going to tell it, I want those to go to my existing contour layer. And it moves those to that existing contour layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut these off, these categories I have. Now notice that they went away. So there's not a contour there anymore. So all of those I put on that existing contour layer. And if I turn it on, they come back. Turn it off, they go away. So I do that. So as I put things on layers or in my layers, I know that I'm getting all the data that I want. So now I'll probably say, okay, let me go and select the design contours. It highlights the design contours. It says 51 objects were found on that layer. So I'm going to say, okay, those are design contours, and those are all going to go away. And so if I turn off the PDF in the background, because I don't really need to use it right now, then all I'm going to see is just the lines. So now I can see I'm kind of getting rid of some of these lines and getting some of the stuff to go away. So here's my building pad. So I'm going to say, okay, let's select the building pad. So it and this little slab of concrete are on the same layer, which I can move that later on. I'm just going to say, okay, I'm going to leave those on. I'm going to say these are going to be on existing. And I'm going to say, let's put these in non-existing design. Here's a concrete pad layer. So I'll put those on that. Here's my parking lot. And I'm going to put this on an existing region layer or design region. And if there's anything else that I think I'm going to need, so here's some sanitary sewer type stuff. So I could probably say, okay, let's select this. And there is some utility. Here's some stuff for sanitary sewer. So I'll just say, okay, let's put that on that pipe layer. So I got to turn off my utility stuff and then it'll go away. And then, so that was sanitary. Looks like this stuff right here is all storm sewer. So that's storm drain right there. So I can say, okay, let's put this on the storm sewer. We're going to say pipe. So we'll drop that there. And so then the rest of it looks like it's call outs for different things. I do have like an area of interest right here. This one right here. That's the site boundary. So I can put that on like a design boundary layer. And so that's probably most of the data that I really need. And so all this, for it to make it go away, I can say, okay, turn off the layers. It goes away, and then I can start working with, like I can start with my existing. So there's my existing contours. I turn back on my image so I can see those elevations and stuff. Here's those contours. And so there's some different commands that I have that once I have it narrowed down to these different layers of CAD and stuff, I can say, okay, I want to clean some of this stuff up. Okay. And I'm looking to see if I got that in here. I'm probably going to have to go to my data prep. So I'm going to go to my data prep real quick. I've got this project cleanup command I can run. Say I want to run it over the current selection. What I'll do is I'll select these objects, project cleanup over the current selection. I can set these to do these automatic cleanups. Does quite a few different types of things, but I'll just tell it what I want it to do and say apply. And so if there's any things that it finds in there, it kind of fixes those things for me. Okay. And so it fixed a bunch of those things, even joined some of these lines. Now, this gap on these, some of these may be a little bigger. And so what I may want to say is, okay, I want to select all these again, and I want to run that. But what I want to do is say this join line thing, I'm going to make it bigger. So I'm going to say probably like 10 feet or something. Say apply. And so it joins some more lines. And so now some of those gaps might even be a little bigger. So from here to here is what? That's 12 feet. Okay, so let's go 15. So I'm not going to join anything together. If I go 15 feet. Okay, let's go 15. And that joined 8 lines. So most of this stuff is joined other than this one. I got 2 of them, it looks like, that didn't join. So this is like one piece. This is one piece, but that's one whole line. That's a whole line. That is. And so those 2, I might just join those manually. So I'll select a piece of it, right click until I want to join lines. So I want to join from that to this. It says the difference of it is 15.373. So it's just a little over 15 feet. And I'll just say, yes, I want to join those. Then my other one was right here. Change the baseline, this line. Tell it I want to join it from here to there. It says it's 23 feet. I'll say yes, so it joins it. So now I've got these lines joined, and if I drag a box across here, I've got 9 objects now. So I kind of clean those up, and I've got everything from my existing cleaned up and ready for me to work with it. So now I'm going to go do the design, and I'll do the same thing. Take a box around everything and say, okay, let's run this project cleanup for the current selection. Say apply. So it's going to join stuff together, do all of its work, its magic. I'll do that one more time. Just make sure it caught everything.
So just to put this in the machine, to, excluding takeoff, just to put something in the machine, you have to do all this?
Yes, because it has to be so if you have CAD stuff, a lot of this will already be done, because the CAD stuff, if it was done correctly in theory, all this line work should be joined together. It should all be elevated. Everything should be, I mean, good to go in CAD. Now, that's always a good theory, and sometimes you find out that's not always the case. But even with CAD, a lot of times you want to go in and clean all the CAD stuff up, okay?
Okay.
And so now if I look at this, like here's my building, turn on my design buildings layer, and that's not on there for some reason. Here's my contours, okay? There's my boundary. Let's go to regions. So there's my region there. And I don't see, oh, there's my concrete pads right there. Okay. So I have a concrete pad, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this individual line, since it's on that design concrete pad, and I'm going to change the layer, and I'm going to put it on that design building pad, because that's going to be an actual building. Okay. And so now that one's on the building layer that I can turn on and off. So I have all these things that now I can elevate all this, and I can start creating all my data to create my surfaces and to start working with, okay? So I'm going to turn that off, and I'm going to go back to my existing. I'm going to start elevating stuff, okay? And so when I go to elevate things, while that I'm doing this data prep command, but I have a command called set line elevation. So I can click on one. So here's a 456. So I can type it in, hit enter. And what it's going to do is now that line's going to be a different color, and that's going to be because it's got elevation to it. That just kind of lets me know it has elevation. And another thing that I can do is I can open up a 3D view. I can see things elevating because that one's higher than the other ones are. What I do is I usually have one open up so I can see stuff elevating as I'm working with it. And so then I say, okay, my next one is this line. This one's at 458. Now, once I have 2 known contours elevated, I can do this contours by crossing command. And then I say, okay, I'm going to go from here, come across to here, and it elevates the rest of them. And then what I'll usually do is just go in and check And so like this 472, elevation on it's 472, 470, elevation's 470. I'll just do a spot check, make sure they all look like they're right, but there's all my existing contours elevated and ready for me to make surface out of it.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to turn on my boundary line for my design boundary here. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I want it to kind of be elevated to where my existing is, because this is my area of interest. This is where my kind of my limits of extent of my job are. And so my guess is that my design is going to tie back to existing at this line right here. So if I elevate this to my existing, then when I tie back in, and if I make this part of my design surface, everything should tie back out to existing. Okay. And so I'm going to take that line right there, and I'm going to use this elevating line command. And I'm going to say I want to do it based by intersecting lines. There's a tolerance set in here that's pretty tight. And then I say, okay, the lines that are intersecting lines. And in the 3D view, I can grab all these elevated lines. And then I say that the line I want to elevate is this one. And I say apply, and it elevates it anywhere where it crosses those contours. And so that line should be where it lays or is basically draped on my existing surface. Okay, and the reason I do that is, like I said, I want that as part of my design surface to be that place where I'm going to tie back out to that surface there. Okay. And one thing I'll probably do while I'm here too is I'm going to make a copy of this so I can use that as a boundary for my designs for my existing surface, because I want those surfaces to begin and end at the same spot. So I'm not comparing surface, because anywhere the surfaces coincide, I'm going to get a quantity of material. And if I'm not going to be working outside that area, I don't necessarily want a quantity outside of that area, right?
Mhm.
So I'm going to say that I want to copy this line. I'm going to relayer the copied object, and I'm going to put it on the existing, and I'll just put it on the 3D line layer. Say apply, and so now there's basically two of that line there. So if I click on that line, it's going to ask me, which one do you want? The one that's on the design boundary or the one that's on the existing 3D lines? Okay. And so now I've got that as an existing 3D line as a boundary as part of that surface too. Okay.
Okay.
So I've done that. And so I've pretty much got everything I want as far as what I'm going to be doing for my existing. So I'll turn off the existing, go to the design, and I'm going to start elevating lines here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on, because my boundary is already going to be elevated, but I'm going to do just the contours. And the reason I'm going to do the contours is when I do that line by crossing, any lines I cross, it thinks is a contour. So if I have lines that aren't contours, it messes up that progression, and it messes up because then it doesn't know what that interval is between those. And so it messes up all my elevations. And so I do have one contour that's not showing up. Let me see where that little booger is. He's not there. Let me see if it's on all these PDF layers. It's not there. Is it on my existing? It's missing one of my contours here. That contour at the top of my pond. So I'm going to trace one in real quick for this. Probably 456. So if that happens and I need to trace one in for some reason, okay, I can come in and say, okay, I want to create a contour. This is just going to be, let's call it existing.
I think
Put
frankly,
it on.
just no more than we're going to use this. I think this is going to be way too complicated for us.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if we had a full-time person doing it, um, that'd be one thing, but just using it, you know, even a little bit every couple of weeks. I mean, I just don't know that do all this.
Okay, that's a fair assessment. One of the things that we can do too is, I mean, all these ribbons and stuff up here, you can make custom templates and you can make this more simple. I mean, is that something you think would be easier, or do you still think the process is probably just a little too much?
It's probably too much. I mean, unless this
Okay.
gets way simpler with a CAD file.
Well, with a CAD file, if everything's already elevated, so let me elevate the data for the existing, so you can see what it does if I have existing, and then I'll build those two surfaces so you can see how it builds the surfaces.
Okay.
So it builds those surfaces for you, and then I can show you how to do like the areas where you're going to have a takeoff. So
Okay.
let me put this contour in here real quick. So that's not going to matter. It's 2 feet, but and that one's going to be at 456. And I'm going to just digitize this in real quick. So existing, so I don't see it. Oh, did I put that on existing? Oh, that's going to be a design, dang it. Design contours, 456K. So I'm going to start here. I won't get on it too close, but do it good enough for the purpose of this demo. So basically this one, since that contour is not there, I'm just kind of tracing one in here.
Yeah.
So it's just making that line. You can see it showing up right there as I'm clicking around the line. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. Okay, now all these lines here, I'm going to select and I want to close them. Go. Okay, then I'm going to elevate the rest of those lines. So I'm going to turn off all my design elements other than I want my contours. Okay, and this one here is going to be 450. That's 454. Oops, 4. Okay, and then I'm going to do them by crossing. There's all my contours elevated. Okay, then I do have my boundary here. Now, the only thing I want to do is the building pad. And that's going to be at 467 feet. So there's that. Get my pad, there we go. Okay. And my concrete slab should be on this little concrete pad. We'll just put it at the elevation of the building pad for now. So 467. Do it. 467. There we go. Now the parking lot's a little different because it's got elevations all the way around it. And so that one's going to be a little trickier. I think we put it under regions. There we go. So with it, I'm going to grab it and say I want to edit it. So that's going to be 460.65. Okay. Up here, we're going to say we want one at a crossing line where it crosses here. We want that elevation. So we want to match the contour. Crossing line, this line, that elevation. This here is going to be 465.65. This one here is going to be 464.4. We got another one here, 465.13. And we got a contour here. Here we got 466.9. This one's actually for that concrete pad, which we'll fix. That one's for the pad. Here we're going to do it a crossing line. Right there, we're 465.97. Got a crossing line at the contour. Crossing line at the contour. Oops. And we'll put this one in 460.97. Okay. There's our parking lot elevated to those different elevations. Close this off. So it's a closed polygon. Okay, so everything there is elevated. All this line work and everything here. This little piece down here is just a little extra, it looks like. And so now what I can do is I can tell it that I want to build surfaces. And build a surface out of the two of them. So I have two different surfaces here. First, we'll look at the original ground. And I'm going to turn off design elements and turn on my existing contours. So you can see the contours laying on it. Oh, I'm going to get rid of this guy right there. That's when I did on accident. Rebuild that surface so that contour is on there. There we go. So there's my existing ground surface right there in 3D. Exaggerate it just a little bit, but there's my existing surface that I created. And if I put this line string right here and add it as a boundary to my surface, then it's going to bound that surface to right there. So when I get a comparison between the two of them, it knows that that's where that surface is going to stop because that's my area of interest. Okay, and then I'm going to look at my design. So here's my design surface. Okay, and I'm going to turn off the original ground and look at the finished design. And so there's my design surface. Now the reason it's giving me these flags is because there's one line that's a little bit lower than the other. And so it says, what do you want to do at this area right here? So I'd probably want to drop these elevations down to what the existing was, so it tied into existing better. But those flags are, I mean, what is that? It's like 500ths and 300ths, so it's very minimal. So there's my two surfaces. So now I could assign site improvements to get my subgrades for these, to create my subgrade models, and then run my takeoff report. Or if I want to at this point, I can just say, okay, what's the difference in the two of them? So I can run an earthwork report, go from original ground to my finished design, say okay. And it basically gives me this report right here. It tells me that I have 10,000 yards of excavation and I got 6,000 yards of fill. So I'm going to end up with a difference of about 4,000 yards. And so just between that, without figuring out my subgrades and everything, I know that I'm going to end up with about 4,000. I'd have about 4,000 yards of material, not counting for any subgrade adjustments or anything. That's the difference in the two surfaces. My maximum depth is going to be 9 feet, and that's probably the bottom of that pond. And my maximum area placed is probably going to be in this area here, or maybe in the parking lot. I can run cut fill maps to see what those are if I wanted to compare the two, and then I can see where that cut and fill is. So I can just say, okay, let's run a cut fill map real quick. I think there's one in here. We'll just go on. Let's leave that on layer 0. Okay, leave that on layer 0. So I'll turn layer 0 on. Do grid spacing of 50 feet. Say okay. Okay, and so there's kind of a cut fill map that shows me where all those cuts and fills are. So there's 8.6 right there. So that deep spot's in the pond. Then right here, I'm looking around 3.4 feet of fill right there. So that's probably where my deepest fill is this area right in here. And that's just a kind of a comparison between the two of them, a cut and fill map, if I want to see that cut fill map.
So I'd be able to lay out that. Is that ready to go into a machine?
So if I wanted to send this to a machine, yes, I can take this right here. Turn off layer 0 real quick, my cut fill map. I could export this surface and this line work right here. So if I go to this construction data tab right here, I basically say, okay, I want to set up a project. What it's going to do is it's going to name it whatever my project is named. So it's going to just call this unnamed since I haven't named this project yet. So what these are also aimed at is if people are using this cloud-based service Trimble has called Works Manager, it loads all this up to the cloud. So what it's doing is based on my login that I use, it's checking to see all my accounts and make sure, it's going to ask me which account I want to use here in a second. So I'll just cancel that because I'm just going to do it locally on my computer. So retrieving my account. I don't really want to send this to the cloud right now. Just want to create my stuff locally. Okay. So I'm just going to say I want to do this offline. And I'm going to do a new offline project. I'm just going to call it none, which will be fine. Say okay. So here's everything for my project. So if I had control points I wanted to put in here, I could add control points, have different things I can put in there. But then what I do is I say I want to create a design. Again, it's checking all my stuff online because if I'm using Works Manager, it'll let me push this directly to where someone can download it from the cloud. So I'm going to call this FG for finished grade. Say okay. Okay, so I want to change the model. And I have a surface here that's going to be that finished design model. So that's why I just clicked on let's change model. So once that comes up, let me pick my surface that I want. I'm going to say I have a surface. I'm going to do the finished design surface I created. Say okay. Then I tell it which line work I want. So it's basically telling me, okay, select your line work. I turn off the surface and this and say, this is the line work I want. 16 objects. I say add, say okay.
Hey Clayton, can you look at the email I just sent you? This is way too complicated for us. Can you look at the email I just sent you?
Okay. Holy cow, I've got a ton of emails. Okay, here's the one you just sent me. Okay.
So if you open up like Pond 4 or Pond 4 contours,
Pond 4 contours. Okay.
is that all I need to put in the machine?
Okay, let me open that. So if that was what you wanted to build, yes.
So that's all we need.
You'd select those contours, make a surface out of it, and stick it in the machine. Yes.
And how hard is it to make a surface out of this?
So that we have to elevate those lines, select all the lines, tell it to build a surface, and you'd be done. Then you take that surface, upload the surface. If you wanted the lines so that they had those as reference lines, add those lines. Because I basically published this, and so now this surface that I just created, I have ready to go. I'll show you where it's at.
Yeah, I just don't see any way that we're ever gonna have the time to put into this software.
Okay. Six. 6. Okay, desktop field data 2606 demo. There we go. And so what I did was I basically just told it where I was putting this data, put it in a folder on the desktop, and all the files are sitting in that folder now once it gets finished. So if I go to documents, or actually go to my desktop, here is field data. There's that demo folder. And so depending on what I have, so if I'm running a Basin Rover, here's all the files for it. So there's my calibration for it. And then here's the files it needs for my data collector. And if I'm running machine control, here are the files I need for machine control right here.
Okay.
And it'd be kind of that same process if I was take that Pond 4, build the surface, and do the same thing with it.
So can you like, is this the same program that they used, or they use something different? Can you tell?
For this right here,
Yeah.
This could have been generated in AutoCAD. It could have been generated in MicroStation, any kind of AutoCAD software.
Got it. Okay.
What they've done is they have it geo-referenced, and so they have a Google Earth image loaded in the background, more than likely, or imagery from a drone if they flew a drone or something.
So we would still need the software that you're showing us to use these files.
Yes, to create the files to go into a data collector or to go into machine control. Yes, you would.
Yeah. Okay.
And then that's one of two things. So there's people that do data prep that would do something like that for you that you can pay. If it's something that's fairly simple, like something like this, what we do is we charge $150 an hour, and my guess is at a 2-hour minimum, so it'd probably cost you like $300 to have that made into a surface for you. Or I could train you on that software. Now, if you had the software, you could do it in once you did it a couple of times, you could probably do it within, I don't know, 15 to 20 minutes.
But we just spent an hour.
Oh, I didn't hear you there. You either muted
Yeah, I mean,
yourself or something.
we just spent an hour, and this is something you're a pro on. So I mean, we're not doing it in 15 minutes, that's for sure.
Yeah, I bet you can knock it out pretty quick.
I mean, it just took an hour.
Oh no, this one wouldn't take that long. Just this right here, just these contours.
No, the one you just showed me. That's a basic map.
Yeah, that one that we were doing. If we were doing a takeoff, yeah. I mean, a typical takeoff's usually can take. If you got good data, 3 to 6 hours. If you don't, it's going to take longer. If you're doing
3 to 6
takeoffs,
hours to clean it up.
This right here that you have, it wouldn't take that long. If we were doing this PDF that I have showing on my screen, this wouldn't take that long. No.
Yeah.
But like a takeoff of like a site, like we were, what your subgrade materials are, stuff like that. Yes.
Yeah.
That's pretty typical.
I think we'd be better off paying $300 to do it.
Okay.
If we had somebody doing this full time, it'd be great.
Yep. And that's the thing is, what works best for you. If you want to pay $300, have us.
If we did that
simple.
If
Anything where it starts getting complicated, we usually recommend you. What's that?
Would we need the software if we paid somebody to do this? Paid somebody the $300 to do it?
Nope, they would send you the files.
Yeah.
Because that's typically what we do. Is I would pull it and then I would send you the files that you needed.
Yeah.
And then you would just stick those in the basin rover and in the machine, and you'd be ready to roll.
Okay. Okay. I think that's the way we would go.
Yep. And down the road, you may want to toy at the idea of looking at it and down the road. So
yeah, we get
that
somebody that does that full time, that's fine. But yeah. Okay. I appreciate it.
Sure thing. If you got any other questions, feel free to reach out to me. And then you said Paul was going to get with you on the basin rover and stuff.
Yeah, that's the plan, I think.
Okay.
This is all getting pretty complicated.
All right.
So I appreciate it. Thanks.
Sure thing. We'll talk to you later. Have a good day. Bye.